live and streaming. This is KSL News at 6.
I mean, it's awful to have it be your business. Two of your businesses going up in flames.
We were quite fortunate that we were able to stop the fire where we did.
Tonight, businesses in the heart of Salt Lake City's entertainment district facing a devastating reality. What is next after a fire ripped through and gutted 4 bars and restaurants? Deanie Wimmer field anchoring for us tonight at Ground Zero. And Deanie, this fire left behind a lot of damage.
It left behind a ton of damage, and we've moved down the street so you can see it right from street level at Ground Zero. So walk with me here, Nathan. This is Los Tapatios, and you can see from the front, there's just nothing left. That's devastation. This is the London Bell, and firefighters say this is where the fire started. You can see blue sky through that building. There's nothing left hardly in there. And then watch out for the wood, Nathan. This is Whiskey Street. You can see the roof on that building collapsed. So that's the storefronts, and what we're seeing now is dozens of employees who would have reported to work right now coming here. Many are shedding tears. They're consoling each other because there's no work left to report to. Now, we have video that shows you the fire, the scene of the fire that our teams arrived on last night. It was an intense fire. Officials with Salt Lake Fire Department tells us that some of these businesses were actually open at the time of the fire, just before 9 o'clock. And fortunately, they were less busy because it was a weeknight. We're told at least 3 firefighters were injured. 1 went to the hospital. They estimate there is $5 million in damage, though city officials think it might be higher than that. Firefighters say they got a call to a kitchen fire at London Bell that spread to the attic of those adjacent businesses, and you can see that. We're told the investigation will likely continue for the next few weeks, but as you will see, the impact of this fire is going to last much longer than that. We have team coverage tonight, beginning with some video of what firefighters, we took them up in Chopper 5 today so they could get a view down below of the damage of this fire. Andrew Adams spoke to the firefighters this afternoon. Andrew, what was their reaction when they saw that?
Well, certainly crews will tell you that something like this is definitely a learning experience after the fact. And the firefighter we took up in Chopper 5 was already starting to assess what might be learned when crews battle fires like these in the future.
You know, it's a whole different ballpark when you see it from this vantage point.
From the air, it was clear to see the potential for even greater hazard.
The air quality was really bad. We had a lot of pedestrian traffic.
And as it was, the devastation from the 3-alarm fire was obvious.
We were really fortunate to not have any civilian injuries or deaths.
Bob Silverthorne with Salt Lake Fire took a ride on Chopper 5 to survey the aftermath and reflect on the battle that crews faced overnight.
Cutting holes into the roof, and at that point we kind of had to abandon because the building was under assault by the fire itself.
What became apparent was how important aerial views were in the firefight itself.
They were critical for us to have eyes like I do right now on top of the building, not just from a camera standpoint, but from an infrared standpoint.
Crews used a police drone to help direct their attack.
We can kind of actually see where our lines are being placed. We can direct the aerial master streams on where the highest heat signature is.
Even at that, the fire left behind $5 million in losses.
This is also an opportunity to dissect if our strategies and tactics were consistent with our incident priorities. So we dive deep into this stuff, and obviously we try to get better and better each and every day.
Not lost, though, among the remnants of these buildings was what else was saved.
I'm really proud of our firefighters for making a stop. As you can see, the buildings to the north and south are relatively intact.
In the end, everyone went home. Perspective crews say that can't be overlooked.
You know, we take these things pretty seriously, especially historic buildings like this. Yeah, we're just really thankful and humbled.
Really, so many factors in play with a fire like this. Smoke was a big problem last night, not just because of visibility, but also because of the potential toxins that smoke and fire puts out. At one point, crews had to move their command post because of it. Back to you guys.
Andrew, thank you. You know, you referred to that business that was saved, and we actually talked to one of the business owners right next door to the devastation. Their business was intact. They were so grateful to firefighters for saving what they could. So there are both stories of that here on the street tonight. Now, city leaders who are dealing with business say this is such a loss to the heart of Salt Lake's social scene.
This is ground zero of our entertainment district. There are 220 businesses, merchants, restaurants, bars that fan out around here. So this is a devastating loss.
Business owners have expressed plans to rebuild. We're told these buildings have long been part of the fabric of Salt Lake City. Their history goes back more than 100 years. And that's what we also wanted to talk about tonight, was the history of this area. News specialist Shelby Lofton talked with some historians about the role that some of these buildings have played over the decades. Shelby?
That's right, Deanie. We talked to a historian about the backstory of these properties that have been standing in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City for decades. She's really hopeful that they'll be able to be preserved, but she said this is just another huge loss of a historic landmark here in Salt Lake City.
People that would come into town would ask, where's a place to go? And I would always recommend this whole area.
This stretch of downtown is bursting with people on a Friday or Saturday night.
Everybody feeling the positive vibe of downtown. And that's dearly going to be missed. I mean, look at this. It's tragic.
Now, crowds gather behind this fence, taking in the charred remains.
To see just a block, a whole section of buildings to just kind of be wiped out all of a sudden, it's a jarring experience.
Brandy Strand with Preservation Utah says the buildings that housed Los Tapatíos, London Bell, Whiskey Street, and White Horse are staples of downtown.
They're definitely at least 100 years old.
That's when this section of Main went by a different name.
In the early 1900s, Main Street was Whiskey Street, but we had a thriving alcohol industry. We actually have quite a few beer providers and beer creators.
Strand says it'll take a lot to rebuild.
A lot of times, we think, we can just build it back. There's no replicating the materials that were used to build those buildings.
She and patrons of these businesses hope the charm and vibrance of this corner of our city returns.
How can you salvage this?
Now, Preservation Utah told me they'll be doing a deep dive on this stretch of buildings. They said watch out on their social media for those updates. And when we were on the scene just a little bit ago, earlier today, we saw crews doing just the beginning stages of cleanup, a long road ahead, and the journey to rebuild. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Shelby, it will be a long road to rebuild. Thank you for that report. So we've seen the historic loss, but coming up in a few minutes, we'll also talk about the business loss and the income loss for around 200 people who worked among these businesses. We'll have that in just a few minutes, but for now, back to you in the studio, Mike.
Affects a lot of individuals and their families. All right, Deanie, thank you.
Welcome back to KSL 5 News at 6. I'm here in downtown Salt Lake, the site of a devastating fire right in the heart of Salt Lake's social district. You can see it started here at London Bell. The roof has collapsed. You can see right through that building, and it then burned down the two adjacent buildings and businesses there. So a lot of damage to report on. I had a chance to talk with Salt Lake's mayor and Aaron Mendenhall, who told me this fire is a tragedy for the whole city.
I also know there's thousands of visitors who come to Salt Lake City for conventions and conferences and events who come here, and this is where they come back to every time they're in town. So, what about employees?
Now, as we told you, historians say these buildings are also part of the city's history. They were used since 1920s, and the mayor talked about how she was going to expedite the building process, the rebuilding process for both the business owners and the employees. News specialist Alex Cabrero continues our team coverage along those lines. Alex, I know you've talked to business owners and they're hurting. What we're seeing down here right now, and I know they're aware of, is dozens of the employees who would have reported to work tonight. They are down here consoling each other and really emotional over losing their community, and that's something the business owners are also concerned about.
Oh, absolutely right, Deanie. I chatted with a few of those workers. They don't have a job tonight simply because the places where they worked, well, they're not in operation right now because of this fire. That's about 200 workers total that are affected. Now, I spoke with the owner of Whiskey Street and Whitehorse, and he said the workers out of jobs, he says, honestly, that is the toughest part of it all.
When Jason LeCates finally made it to Main Street late last night.
Just kind of watched, couldn't even see through the smoke. It was so thick. You could just see the aerial attack from the 2 ladder trucks.
13 years of Whiskey Street, 8 years of Whitehorse, gone in just a few hours.
I mean, it's just awful to have it be your business. 2 of your businesses going up in flames.
But his thoughts now aren't just about his businesses. They're about his workers.
You know, it's going to take a couple of days to get through the insurance, to get the insurance rolling, but it sounds like there's coverage through insurance that will help with payroll and whatnot.
It would help people like Ariel Johnson, who has only worked here a few months, but already feels like family.
It's definitely heartbreaking, and I just feel really bad for him, and I love that he's concerned for his employees, but I think his employees are more concerned for him than ourselves.
They don't know what's next, but LeCates does know he will rebuild.
I'm just not going to let this beat us.
And when firefighters found an American flag in the rubble that didn't burn,
That's awesome.
they folded it and gave it to him. He thinks it's a sign the businesses will survive.
I mean, we worked way too hard for this. This was blood, sweat, and tears. This was my life journey.
And within the past couple of hours, the Downtown Alliance and Salt Lake City have announced a Main Street Fire Employee Assistance Program where 100% of donations will go to the workers that work. They're affected by this fire for things like rent, groceries, transportation. You could go to the Downtown Alliance website for a link there. We will also put a link on our website version of the story on KSLTV.com. Deanie?
Yeah, Alex, she mentioned that if people want to help, there's a fund to help the employees and to also support the businesses that are existing, that are staying here in downtown. That will help support the city as well and the people involved. So as you can see, the cleanup process and the assessment is just beginning. So it's going to be a long process, and we'll continue to cover that part of it as we move forward. For now, though, you can download the KSL Plus app and make sure we broke this story through that app, so you can make sure to get the latest reports on that. For now, Mike, we'll toss it back to you.
Yeah, devastating all around for a number of families and these business owners. All right, Deanie, thank you. Great coverage out there tonight.